Did Kevin Durant make a mistake joining the Brooklyn Nets in the 2019 NBA offseason? Sup guys, Deluxe Gamer here, and that is the question I will be answering in this video. Even though this topic may be a bit out of season to talk about, with the current NBA season on hold, I do think it's something interesting to address. And so, with that out of the way, let's get right into it. After failing to eclipse a title in his time in OKC, combined with some on-court issues between him and Russell Westbrook, that ultimately led Kevin Durant to join the Golden State Warriors in the 2016 offseason. This move was immediately addressed by everyone as the weakest move by a superstar ever, and to their point, he of course blew a 3-1 lead while performing subpar in the end of that series, and then decided to join the very team that beat him. Regardless of how people felt of his decision, KD was still on a mission to not only win a championship, but also compete with LeBron James to be regarded as the best player in the NBA. And after his first year with Golden State, he did one of those things. After putting up tremendous 2017 finals numbers, he ended up with that year's finals MVP. This, in his mind, made him believe that people would view this as proof that he was better than LeBron and that he should in fact be recognized as the #1 player in the league. But the only problem is, well, they didn't. That memory of him having that mentality of if you can't beat him, join him, never really left the hearts of basketball fans everywhere, and this prevented KD from being seen as the best player in the world. Fast forward to the 2018 NBA Finals a year later, and the exact same thing happened. The Warriors were on top of the world and won another ring. KD won Finals MVP, but he still was not recognized as a better player than LeBron James. This, as we all know, was a pretty big shock to him. Whether that was due to him being soft in terms of receiving criticism or failing to see how his move was considered to be weak is besides the point. Just know that it bothered him to his core that he was not seen as #1. Fast forward again to the last NBA playoffs in 2019, and we all know what happened. KD gets injured badly, twice. Klay Thompson tore his ACL, and the Raptors clinched that final series with Kawhi Leonard leading the way. Because it bothered him to his core so much that he wasn't seen as the greatest, and because he couldn't accomplish that feat on the Warriors, that ultimately led Kevin Durant to leave Golden State in the 2019 NBA free agency. There was a lot of hype surrounding a viral clip back from All-Star Weekend of that year of him and Kyrie Irving potentially discussing some free agency possibilities between the two of them. And, as it turned out, that was what they were indeed likely talking about, as they both decided to join the Brooklyn Nets in free agency. But, was joining the Brooklyn Nets the right move? Well, to find out, let's look at all the plausible choices KD could have made. For one, KD could have joined the team that beat him, the Toronto Raptors. In all seriousness, KD could have made 5 plausible free agency decisions. Those include 1. Joining the Brooklyn Nets, 2. Joining the New York Knicks, 3. Joining the Lakers, 4. Joining the Clippers, or 5. Staying in Golden State. Now I think there are 3 on-court things players look to better themselves in when it comes to making a successful free agency decision. 1 is how the move would affect their ranking in today's NBA. 2. How it would affect their all-time ranking, or in this context, ability to win rings. And 3. The level of surrounding talent and the front office. To determine if it was a good move or not joining the Nets, let's see if any other of his options were better concerning those 3 things. Looking at the first option, which he did in joining the Nets, we see that it was a definite plus for potentially bettering his position in today's rankings amongst NBA players. On Golden State, he never really could have been seen as the best because of his 2016 free agency decision being perceived as extremely weak. But on the Nets, he doesn't have that level of all-stars around him, and if he recovers from his Achilles tear well enough and performs as his usual self, he could really be seen as the best player in the NBA for perhaps a season or 2, of course assuming LeBron slows down more. In terms of how it would affect his all-time NBA ranking, I feel like it was a great move, if he wins a championship. If he joined an already stacked team like the Lakers or Clippers, that may be seen also as an incredibly weak move, and even though he'd likely win more rings, those rings would also be taken with a hefty grain of salt, and prove KD was never really willing to attempt to win without an insane amount of surrounding talent. That would hurt his all-time ranking, so joining Brooklyn was a good move here. Looking at surrounding talent, this was a major plus. The reason Kyrie and KD decided Brooklyn was the team to join was because the Nets already had a great amount of surrounding talent there. With guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris, DeAndre Jordan, Karis LeVert, etc., they already had that in check, with a pretty decent coach in Kenny Atkinson. So, for joining the Nets, all three boxes are checked as a good move, and with the things mentioned so far, we can cross off the Knicks for poor front office management and surrounding talent, and both LA teams for likely hurting his all-time ranking. And if he stayed in Golden State, he'd never have been seen as the league's best player, again, unless LeBron was stopped by Father Time, and if other players like Giannis or Kawhi wouldn't challenge him as the league's best player, which again, it would be very unlikely all those things would fall in KD's favor. So, of all the plausible options, it turns out that yes, KD made the absolute correct decision, especially with his chance to prove to everyone he can win a ring without an overwhelming amount of surrounding firepower. All other options were either worse for surrounding help, more potentially damaging for his all-time ranking, or would hurt his chances more for being seen as the NBA's best player today. The only question left is, will he win a championship in Brooklyn, and how much does that matter? Now, I think considering his all-time ranking, it really matters a lot. All the all-time greats in the modern era have won not only championships, but also finals MVPs without an insane amount of help. If KD wants to be in that top 10 or even top 20 discussion, he has to prove that he can win rings without an incredible cast of talent. And will he win a ring in Brooklyn? I honestly think that there's a pretty decent chance, especially with LeBron presumably on the decline, and the East being the much easier conference to reach the finals in. So did KD make a mistake joining the Brooklyn Nets? As it turns out, of all the plausible options, no. In fact, it was just about the best option he could have made. The only thing I can really fault him for is for joining with Kyrie, who has his potential future off-court issues as he is shown to have in the past. But other than that, it was the right move, and he set himself up nicely to not only win a championship, but improve his ranking in the NBA today and all time, and only time will tell if he wins that championship. This has been Deluxe Gamer. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and peace.